Annihilator's 15th album, a little number called Suicide Society. And at this point, the band has essentially turned into Jeff Waters' solo project all over again. He is now handling the vocals for the first time in quite a while. There's about a 3 or 4 album stretch where he did that in the 1990s, the latter portion of the decade. And he has some help here and there whenever it comes to the bass and the drums, or should I say, and some rhythm guitar work. And aside from that, he is kind of the man on this album. So he is commanding, essentially, what happens and the fate of Suicide Society right in the palm of his hands. We talked about Feast a couple years ago, 2013. It was a solid listen, a lot of fun, and definitely resonated a lot of the past that Annihilator has been able to deliver, and just kind of renewed a lot of vigor toward this band and a lot of memory toward this group. This is an album that may do that for some individuals, but it may actually do so in a different way, where it makes you think more of the age while also consider the modern edge of it just a little bit as well. Suicide Society as a song, as the opener on this track, is not a very strong opener, to be perfectly blunt. This is actually a song that ends up being one of the weakest of the album, and really doesn't showcase very much. It's instead one that kind of leaves you with this impression that the rest of this album may not exactly be all that you're expecting it to be, and you might be going down a pretty negative ride. But instead, whenever you get into My Revenge, which is track number 2, it immediately takes a turn, and the thrash really starts to come out a little bit more to play. And this actually is a song that boasts one of the better guitar solos on this album, which is actually one of the fierce strengths that Annihilator, or should I say Jeff Waters, truly is able to present not only on this album, but has sort of been a focal point throughout their career. Lyrically speaking, Annihilator has never been a band that has been tremendously amazing at lyricism, especially whenever it comes to the previous, say, 10 to 15 years. It's not been what they've been known for. Instead, this is an album where the musicality and the overall songwriting is more so at the forefront, and more so what you pay attention to than necessarily the lyricism, which at times can seem a bit and feel a bit corny. With songs such as Break Enter, which seems to really be Jeff documenting such an event happening maybe at his house or to somebody that he knows. And then, of course, songs such as Narcotic Avenue, which is an obvious reference to drugs of that variety, which, standard par for the course. There's a lot of speaking about revenge and this and that, and yeah. But musically speaking, this is a pretty decent album. It's one that definitely flows very nicely. There's a good tight togetherness to this, and it's not one that necessarily always remains on a linear track. It can deviate, which definitely helps whenever it comes to giving it a little bit more spontaneity and giving it a little bit more in the way of variety. This is an album also that I feel is going to cause more individuals, more fans of this band to really explore perhaps some other groups that were coming along right along the same time as Annihilator. And I'm talking about groups such as Metal Church or Heathen. Groups that really exhibited that thrash metal sound, did so, however, in a couple of different ways, whether it be a darker tone to their guitar work, as was the case with some of the early Metal Church tracks, either that or really expanding their overall composition, which is something that Heathen did, especially in the latter portions of their early career. And Annihilator is kind of a great molding point between those two, much the same as Carnival Diablos by Annihilator was a perfect coupling album or a companion album to Violent Revolution by Creator. The two just really seem to work very, very nicely with one another. So this is a disc that's going to make you think about thrash metal. It's going to make you think about the genre as a whole, which can be perceived as a very good thing or a very bad thing. Good because thrash is awesome and Annihilator's a thrash metal band. Bad because you're thinking more about some of the other bands than you are about Annihilator. So it's kind of a potato-potato, win some, lose some style of argument. Now, vocally speaking, this is one where the melodic vocals that you hear from Jeff make you think that you've stumbled upon this weird parallel universe where Fear Factory have somehow appeared on this album to do some vocals, which is actually kind of cool, but at the same time, a little bit distracting. You wonder what the hell's going on. I really enjoy the fact that it breaks down into two main sections, your main body, and then something a little bit more melodic for the hooks or the chorus. But overall, once again, the strength here is the guitar work. Jeff Waters is definitely an individual who has been kind of underrated in some circles, while at the same time has also influenced a lot of individuals in many walks of life whenever it comes to their guitar work, and that ends up being the real critical portion of this album. The real critical point is his guitar work, really playing one of the focal elements and bringing this album all together. Overall, this is an album I'd probably give a 79 out of 100 to. It's not a disc that's going to set your world on fire. It's not one that's going to immediately make you want to go out and buy every other Annihilator album ever made, but it's a solid enough and fun enough listen that it really keeps you enthralled and keeps you gripped. That's kind of the main draw here. The main allure is the fact that the album doesn't really stumble all over itself aside from its lyricism. This is also a disc that showcases enough solidarity to really not feel like this is Jeff Waters stumbling completely over the newfound responsibility of having this band essentially to himself again. Highlights definitely include My Revenge as well as Narcotic Avenue. Every minute is actually a really solid finale, and I just dig the fact that this album expands itself a little bit more as it gets into its second half. Your longer tracks are found there. I just sort of wish that there was a little bit more done to further craft some of these tracks and really make them unique and stand out a little bit more, considering once you sort of cycle through everything, it does start to blend together a little bit, which is not a positive thing. But I want to know what you guys think about Suicide Society by Annihilator. I want to know what you think about this band in general. Man, we have talked about a lot this week. We've talked about albums from Atreyu, from Tesseract, the Black Dahlia Murder. We've talked about a new My Dying Bride album, Native Construct, and Dr. Dre. So we've talked about a lot already. We still have a lot more to come. We have still new albums from David Gilmour, Chris Cornell, Shinedown, and Operation Mindcrime to definitely tackle, and perhaps some surprises thrown in the mix as well. So you're definitely, if you're not subscribed already, you should hit the button and stick with us, because there's just so much coming out and so much to talk about. And for those of you who have not yet seen everything else from this past week, links are scattered about, I'm sure, in order for you to do that. And I'm coverkillernation. I thank you for watching. I am eager to hear what you have to say about this album in the comments below, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.